Charlie was not angry about Paul's suspicion. On the contrary, he admired Paul's magnanimity. He would say whatever he wanted, without covering up. This kind of quality is very rare in today's society. So he said to Paul, "You want to see if I have this ability to learn. This is also human nature, but since I am here, I will charge you a fee for feng shui, which is also human nature." In fact, Charlie didn't intend to ask Paul for money before he came. After all, he was the son of the old master's lover, so he still had to give this little face. But since Paul is so frank, one said one, and the other said two, then he should also get along with him in the same way. When Paul heard this, he immediately said, "Of course. Since Mr. Charlie is invited, how can he not be paid for it?" As he said, he took out the checkbook from his pocket without hesitation, drew on it for a while, tore it off and handed it to Charlie, saying, "Mr. Charlie, this 1 million is a little bit of my care. Please accept it." Charlie accepted the check with a slight smile, and said with a smile, "Then I would be more respectful than fate." After speaking, Charlie looked around, and said, "That means it is indeed seen by an expert, but the expert will inevitably omit something. For example, the entrance of the Jusai Feng Shui Bureau is naturally there is nothing wrong with it. But the failure to make a corresponding layout behind this is really a failure." Hearing what he said, Paul hurriedly asked, "Mr. Charlie, what do you mean by this?" Charlie smiled and said, "Feng Shui often says that purple energy comes from the east, wealth comes from the east, and your entrance faces east. There is nothing wrong with setting up the Jusai Feng Shui Bureau, which means that money comes in from your entrance and enters your company. This is a good start, but your company must be able to keep the money. After all," he pointed to the back of the company and said, "Look at this side of your company, there are all transparent floor-to-ceiling windows and transparent glass. There is no such thing in the Feng Shui Bureau, so you just come in from the entrance and let it go out directly from the back without stopping. Do you know what it is called?" Paul asked nervously, "Please Mr. Charlie, make it clear." Charlie laughed and said, "There is an old Chinese saying that bamboo baskets can be used to catch water. Why do you say that is because although the mouth of bamboo baskets can enter water, the gap itself is too big to retain water. If the company can't retain money, it is very likely that your company will be big in and out in the future, with more money in and out, and in the end nothing will be left behind." Paul exclaimed and asked, "Mr. Wade, how should this situation be resolved?" Charlie said lightly, "First of all glass must be filmed. As I said earlier, if the glass is transparent, it means nothing, but once it has a color, even if it is just a light brown color, it is equivalent to putting it on. The glass becomes a wall." Paul nodded in excitement, and blurted out, "Thank you so much, Mr. Charlie, I will arrange for someone to do it quickly." Charlie smiled slightly and said, "Don't worry, I haven't finished talking yet." Paul hurriedly said respectfully, "Mr. Charlie, please tell me." Charlie said, "When you put a film on the glass, you also have to place a golden brave on the left and right sides. It must be made of pure gold to play the best role in fortune. Moreover, Paisho is famous. The best way to keep money is to eat but not pull, but not to get in. This is tantamount to setting up a feng shui bureau for keeping money. After the money comes in, you can keep it, and your business will naturally flourish." Paul held a fist at Charlie with a grateful look, and said respectfully, "Mr. Charlie is indeed worthy of the title of master. From today onwards, I, like everyone else, will respect you as master." Charlie smiled and waved his hand. "You don't need to call me master. If you call me master in front of my old master, or in front of your mother, I don't know how to explain it to them." Paul blurted out, "From then on, in front of them, I will call you Mr. Charlie, but when not in front of them, I must call you Mr. Wade." Having said that, Paul immediately took out his checkbook again, and wrote and painted on it for a while. Then he tore off the check, dragged his hands to Charlie respectfully and said, "Master, this is a supply. Please accept your expenses." Charlie glanced at it and found that the check was written for 4 million, and he said to Paul, 1 million is already a lot. You don't need to be so polite with me. I will accept this million, but this 4 million you should take it back. Paul resolutely said, "No, master, if it weren't for you, I might just be in Orus Hill in the future with not much wealth." Charlie waved his hand and smiled. "These are just some sayings about feng shui. Even if I don't point it out to you, you may not be able to make money. After all, your law firm has been in business for so many years and is already very famous." Paul said earnestly, "Master, it is true that when my dad opened a law firm, he first took a few cases and lost all of them, and the reasons for losing the case are strange. During that time, using my mother's words said, Dad happily drank cold water and stuffed his teeth. Later, my mother invited a feng shui gentleman from Chinatown to see feng shui in my dad's law firm. At first, my father rejected this kind of Oriental feudal superstition, but when that feng shui gentleman clearly figured out what happened to my father after a few difficulties, my father realized that the mystic academic feng shui was really extraordinary.